Today, we're diving into some absolutely explosive allegations coming out of the heart of Nigeria's National Assembly. We're talking about claims of high-level corruption, coercion, and a Senate president allegedly asking a senator to shake down ministers for kickbacks. Yes, you heard that right. Stick around, because this is a big one. So, who's making these claims? Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, who, it's important to note, is currently suspended from the Nigerian Senate. She recently gave an exclusive interview to US-based Nigerian journalist Adeola Fayehun. And the who she's accusing? None other than the Senate President himself, Godswill Akpabio. The allegation is stark. Akpoti-Uduaghan claims Akpabio instructed her, in her capacity as the then chairman of the Senate Committee on Local Content, to essentially harass ministers and heads of government agencies. The alleged purpose: to extract kickbacks and favours, not for the Nigerian people, not for the government, but for Akpabio's personal benefit. So just sit back and hear it from Natasha.
Local content. When in his office, usually I tend to avail myself to, attend some meetings. Maybe he's receiving guests, ambassadors, or dignitaries from agencies or stuff. So I usually attend the meetings. So at one of those gatherings, he then went, Senator Uduaghan, you haven't reported progress. And I was like, reported progress? He said, yes, that I'm supposed to report progress. So I said, okay, give me a few days, I'll report progress. He said, fine. So I went later on, made a PowerPoint presentation of my activities as a chair then, the meetings we've held, the timeline of events, the action plans. And then I went back to him and I was like, okay, sir, I'm ready to tender my progress report. And then he went, okay, where is it? And then I opened my laptop and I was like, okay, this is it. And he laughed. And I was like, oh, why are you laughing, sir? He said, don't I know the meaning of reporting progress? And I said, I thought it's to give you a feedback on my activities so far. And then he now referred me to a senior senator. He said, why don't you go meet this person and let him educate you on what report progress means. So I went to meet the senator and I was like, sir, I usually respect anyone who knows me will know that I respect my colleagues, even though I respect my seniors, even though we're colleagues. So I went, sir, I was told to approach you so you'll guide me on what reporting progress meant. And he laughed. He was like, it means I should give kickbacks to him. I was like, what do you mean kickbacks? He said money, projects, other perks. And I was like, how do you mean I need to return? He said, well, as a chairman of committee, and I'm saying this is me. I don't know if this happens to other as a chairman, but if anyone is courageous enough, they could probably speak. So it's more like the Senate President tasking the chairman of all the committees that periodically they're supposed to bring money to him or jobs. And I went, how am I supposed to make money and report to the Senate President? And he said, well, I have to harass the agencies or the ministers that report to me. And for me, since I was chairperson local content, that means I have the Minister of Petroleum. I have also the Minister of Gas, who is the co-chair, who was made later on the co-chairman of the board. Then I also have the Executive Secretary, Engineer Felix. So that means I'm supposed to harass them for returns, to periodically give money to the Senate President or jobs. And I was like, I can't do that. And they were like, well, that's the norm under him. So I had to. So I later on went to the Senate President. I was like, sir, I understand what report progress means, but unfortunately, I can't do that. I also told my husband that. I was like, wow, so it means it's more like you extort or harass so that you can pacify or parley the Senate President in order to keep your position. So I didn't do that. And he later, a number of times, he was like, Natasha, if you don't know how to harass the chairman, that means you don't, if you don't know how to harass the ministers, that and the executive secretary of local content, that means you're not capable of running the committee. So that means to the Senate President Akpabio, deliverables are not tied to objectivity and performance. It's more like what returns come to him. And I know a number of times he has told me to invite to bring the chairman, the executive secretary over to him, but I refused. Till date, I never forced or coerced any of the ministers to meet with him. If they met the Senate President and parleyed on their own, I don't know about that, but on me. So that's just to give you an idea of the coercion that happens behind the scene that people don't know. And when people think of, budget padding, that many people do blame.
Akpoti-Uduaghan didn't just make a vague claim. She detailed what she describes as systemic coercion within the National Assembly. She says she was specifically expected to squeeze returns from key ministries and agencies under her committee's oversight. This includes big players like the Minister of Petroleum, Gas, and the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, NCDMB, agencies that handle massive resources. Now, here's a really telling part of her story. She claims her relationship with Senate President Akpabio started to deteriorate when he demanded she report progress. Believing this meant a professional update on her committee's work, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan says she prepared a detailed PowerPoint presentation outlining meetings, action plans, timelines, the whole 9 yards. Actual legislative work. But according to her, what was Akpabio's reaction? He allegedly laughed off the report. The heavy implication here is that Akpabio wasn't interested in a PowerPoint about due process. He was expecting a different kind of progress, a report on the returns she had supposedly extracted. Critical analysis. What does this mean? Okay, let's unpack this. These are not minor accusations, they are incredibly serious. Abuse of power and oversight. Legislative oversight is a cornerstone of democracy. Committees are there to hold government agencies accountable, ensure they are spending taxpayer money wisely, and delivering services. If these allegations are true, it means this vital function is being perverted into an extortion racket. Instead of checking power, it becomes a tool for corrupt enrichment. Systemic corruption. Akpoti-Uduaghan's use of the phrase systemic coercion is deeply concerning. It suggests this isn't just an isolated incident or one man's alleged greed, but potentially a wider, embedded culture within the legislative arm. If so, how many other committees are allegedly operating this way? Impact on governance. If ministers and agency heads are being harassed for kickbacks, it cripples their ability to function effectively. Resources meant for public good could be diverted. It fosters a climate of fear rather than collaboration for national development. It also fundamentally erodes public trust in democratic institutions. Who do you trust when the watchdogs are allegedly the wolves? The suspended factor. We must acknowledge Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan is suspended. The reasons for her suspension aren't detailed in this specific report, but it's a context viewers should be aware of. Some might question her motives. Is this a case of a whistleblower speaking out, or is there another angle? Regardless, the allegations themselves are so specific and severe that they demand scrutiny on their own merit. Akpabio's position. Godswill Akpabio is the number 3 citizen in Nigeria. Allegations of this nature against such a high-ranking official, if proven, would have monumental consequences for the country's political stability and international reputation. What's missing and what next? It's absolutely crucial to state that these are, at this point, allegations. Senator Akpabio has not, to our knowledge at the time of this recording, publicly responded to these specific claims made in the Adeola Fayehun interview. He has a right to be heard, and due process must be followed. However, the gravity of these accusations means they cannot be ignored or swept under the carpet. What needs to happen? A response. The nation awaits a formal response from Senate President Akpabio and his office. Independent investigation. Many will call for a credible, independent investigation by Nigeria's anti-corruption agencies. This needs to be thorough and transparent. Are there other senators or officials who can corroborate or refute these claims? Evidence. Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan has made these claims publicly. The burden of proof will eventually come into play. Does she have further evidence to substantiate these very direct accusations? The PowerPoint story is a strong anecdote, but investigators would look for more. Public scrutiny. The Nigerian public and media have a huge role in keeping this story alive and demanding accountability. This is a developing story, and it's one that cuts to the core of governance and integrity in Nigeria. The allegations made by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan against Senate President Godswill Akpabio are damning. What are your thoughts on this? Do you believe these claims? What do you think should be the next step? Let me know in the comments below. I read them. This situation highlights why a free press and an engaged citizenry are so vital. We will continue to follow this story and bring you updates as they unfold. If you found this breakdown informative, please give this video a thumbs up, share it so more people are aware, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss our future analysis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.